When we think of normal, our minds often drift towards the everyday, the commonplace, the predictable things that fit neatly into the tidy boxes society has set out for us. But every now and then, we stumble across some people who shatter these boxes with an unapologetic indifference. The Sigma males. These guys don't just bend the rules. They rewrite them in a language uniquely their own. What we deem extraordinary is just another regular day for them. So let's dive into the world of Sigma males, where the status quo is questioned, where normal is an alien concept, and the mundane becomes fascinating. Here are 11 reasons why Sigma males are anything but normal. 1. Non-participation in social hierarchies. Sigma men don't have any time for the rat race. You know, that endless scramble for rank, prestige, and social status. They're not part of that game. They see social hierarchies for what they really are, a made-up concept, a product of collective imagination. They don't feel the need to climb any social ladder or seek validation from being in a specific rung. The whole idea of outranking or being outranked by someone based on such superficial parameters just doesn't click with them. They're more about personal growth and self-improvement than competing with others for a higher position in some imaginary hierarchy. They measure their worth by their own standards, not by society's yardstick. While many are trying to fit into the pyramid, Sigma men are chilling outside of it, doing their own thing. They're not rebels or contrarians. They just don't buy into the whole pecking order concept. This non-participation in social hierarchies might seem odd to those who thrive on status and recognition, but to Sigma men, it's just common sense. They don't need a label or a title to define who they are. Their actions and values speak for themselves. 2. Non-pleasing nature. These individuals are anything but people pleasers. They don't do things to earn brownie points or to be seen in a certain light. They're not out there seeking validation or approval from others. Their actions are guided by their own principles and values, not by the expectations of others. It's like they walk to the beat of their own drum, indifferent to the orchestra around them. They don't bow down to peer pressure or conform to the popular vote. While some might mistake this non-pleasing nature for arrogance or aloofness, it's simply about being true to themselves. They're not aiming to rub people the wrong way, but neither will they bend over backward to fit into societal norms. This non-pleasing approach can be quite a head-scratcher for those used to the traditional social dynamics of seeking approval and acceptance. Many people finger-point and label these men as difficult, stubborn, or even antisocial. But in reality, they're just unapologetically themselves, without the need to please anyone else. Sure, they may not be everyone's cup of tea, but that doesn't faze them. They would rather be disliked for who they are than loved for who they pretend to be. 3. Unpredictable behavior. Sigma men are like the wild cards of the deck. You can't predict their next move. Their life isn't dictated by a script, and they don't follow a set pattern. You can't guess what they'll do next or how they'll react to a situation. They're not bound by societal expectations, so they handle things in their own unique way. This unpredictability extends beyond their actions to their emotions as well. They don't wear their hearts on their sleeves, so it's hard for others to gauge what they're feeling at any given moment. They can come across as aloof or detached, but that's just because they process and express their emotions differently from the norm. This unpredictable behavior is not a deliberate attempt to keep people on edge. It's just part of who they are. They don't fit into a mold, so they can't be expected to behave predictably. This might be frustrating for those who like to have a sense of control, but it's just another aspect of a Sigma man's complex personality. Of course, this doesn't mean he's reckless or impulsive. He trusts his intuition and makes calculated decisions. But if something doesn't go according to plan, he's not going to be thrown off course. He has a way of finding opportunity in chaos and thrives in unpredictable situations. 4. Different thought processes. These men think differently, period. They don't just follow the herd and accept things at face value. They question, they analyze, and they draw their own conclusions. Their minds are always working, always ticking. They observe and absorb the world in their own unique way, which can be pretty mind-boggling for those used to conventional thinking. It's like they have their own internal compass that guides their thoughts and actions. They don't rely on preconceived notions or societal norms to make sense of things around them. They trust their own judgment. This capacity to think outside the box, to see beyond the surface, sets them apart from the crowd. They'll look at a problem and come up with a solution that no one else thought of. They might take longer to make a decision, but that's because they're weighing all the options and considering all the angles. They don't jump on the bandwagon. They carve their own path. This approach might seem odd or even intimidating to some, but it's just a Sigma man doing his thing. He isn't scared to challenge the status quo if it means finding a better way. He goes beyond the usual, the expected, the normal, and that's why they're anything but ordinary. 5. Rare breed of individuals. The Sigma personality type is not something you come across every day. They are quite rare in society, and that's part of what makes them so misjudged and misunderstood. They're not easy to spot in a crowd, especially if they blend in and don't draw attention to themselves. It's like they have this invisible cloak that allows them to slip by unnoticed. They prefer to fly under the radar, observing and taking in their surroundings without attracting any unnecessary attention. The rarity of these men also means they lack a solid support system or understanding community. They are usually labeled as outsiders, loners, or even weirdos. But this doesn't bother them, even though it can be isolating at times. They don't crave a large circle of friends or need constant social interaction to feel fulfilled. They're comfortable in their own company and have a select few people they trust and confide in. This doesn't mean they lack empathy or the ability to form meaningful connections. They just value quality over quantity when it comes to relationships. 6. Skepticism towards mainstream media and popular opinions. Sigma men don't just swallow everything mainstream media feeds them. They're not about to let some news anchor or viral tweet dictate their beliefs or opinions. They'd rather do their own research, dig deep, and form their own views. They question everything, and blindly accepting popular opinions just isn't their style. They understand that the media can be biased and that it can shape narratives to suit agendas, so they take it with a pinch of salt, always keeping their critical thinking cap on. In a world where many just follow the flock, where it's easier to accept what's fed to us, their skepticism is far from common. They're not trying to be rebellious or controversial. They just value truth and authenticity. They're the kind of guys who will read between the lines, who will look at both sides of the coin. It's about staying informed, about knowing what's really going on, and not just what someone wants them to believe. It's about going against the grain in their search for the truth, and that's definitely anything but ordinary. 7. Mysterious and enigmatic presence. Why do these men always seem to have that air of mystery about them, that enigmatic presence that keeps others guessing? It's not just because they're shy. It's something more. It's like they have a secret world inside their heads that no one else can access. They are selective about what they reveal, and even the closest people to them might not know everything about them. While they are friendly and approachable, they also have a natural guard that keeps others from getting too close, especially emotionally. It's not that they're hiding anything from the world. It's just their way of protecting themselves and maintaining their independence. They don't share their innermost thoughts and feelings with just anyone. Those need to be earned. And even when others think they know everything about them, there always seems to be something more to discover. This mystery is also what makes many women feel drawn to them. They want to unravel the layers and get to know this complex, intriguing man better. Sure, some women might get frustrated with their mysterious ways, thinking they're doing it on purpose. They're not trying to be elusive or difficult. They're just being themselves, and that includes being a little mysterious. It's part of their charm and what makes them stand out from the crowd. 8. Selective and limited social interactions. People are too boring and fake sometimes, and Sigma men don't have the energy to deal with that. They'd rather spend time alone or with a small group of genuine people than attend large social events where they have to play the social game. They find pleasure in solitary activities, and that doesn't make them lonely or antisocial. It makes them independent. Sure, they can be social butterflies when they want to be, but they don't feel the need to constantly be in the company of others. They are selective about who they spend their time with and have no problem saying no to invites or plans that don't interest them. They're not the type to have 1,000 friends, but the ones they do have are real, and that's all that matters to them. Sigma men value meaningful connections over superficial ones and don't waste time on people who don't add value to their lives. This can make them seem elusive or unavailable at times, but it's just because they prioritize their time and energy for the things that truly matter. 9. Minimalistic and non-materialistic lifestyle. Sigma men are the kind of people who value the simple, essential things in life over flashy, non-essential stuff. They don't need the latest gadgets or a fancy car to impress others. They're cool with just having what they need and not accumulating excess stuff. Their living spaces are often minimalistic, with only essentials and nothing more. They're not against owning possessions, but they definitely don't let material things own them. They believe in the mantra, less is more, and feel that a cluttered space can lead to a cluttered mind. They may have a few luxury items, but it's more about the quality than the quantity for them. These individuals live a life that's free from consumerist pressures, making them stand out in a society obsessed with materialism. They prefer experiences over possessions and would rather invest in personal growth and meaningful memories. It's not about being stingy. It's about being smart and valuing what truly matters. They know that the best things in life aren't things, and that, my friend, is anything but normal. 10. Resistance to conformity. Sigma men are not fans of falling in line just because everyone else is doing it. They are wired to resist the pressures of conformity. It's like they're immune to the collective mindset that says, this is how things should be done. They don't buy into that. If it doesn't make sense to them or align with their values, they are not having it. This resistance to conformity is not about being difficult or contrarian. It's about authenticity. They are fiercely individualistic and don't mind stepping away from the crowd to chart their own course. They are masters of their own fate, charting their own horizons, and that sometimes means swimming against the tide. They'd rather go against the grain and be themselves than blend in and lose their individuality. Conforming for the sake of fitting in is like giving up their freedom. It's a no-go. This can be a challenge in a society that values conformity, but it's a small price to pay for being true to themselves. Sigma men thrive in spaces where they can be their authentic selves and resist any pressure to conform or change who they are. It's not about rebellion. It's about being true to their values and not compromising on that for anyone or anything. 11. Seeing the world through a different lens. This is perhaps the biggest game changer for Sigma men. Their perspective is refreshingly distinct and usually far removed from the mainstream view. They're not looking at the world through rose-colored glasses, nor are they jaded realists. They navigate their lives with a unique clarity that others usually struggle to understand. These guys see opportunities where most see obstacles. They find beauty in the imperfections, and they're not afraid to challenge the established norms. This different lens through which they view the world is not just a random quirk. It is an integral part of their identity, one that sets them apart from the masses. While society often looks down upon those who deviate from the norm, Sigma men would never settle for being boxed into a preconceived notion of normality. They perceive the world in a way that's far from ordinary. They have this ability to look beyond the obvious, peering beneath the surface and decoding what's hidden. They don't just see things, they understand them. It's like they're wearing 3D glasses in a 2D movie, giving them an extra dimension most of us overlook. They are not satisfied by the superficial, searching for the truth behind appearances.